Don't laugh every time I try and speak French.
And you have to appeal to a lot of people. I mean, what changed in the way you write?
I mean, like in some, it would be disingenuous for me to say nothing changed. But probably the biggest change was that, well, there were two big changes. One was we were doing more episodes, so therefore we felt we had to have more variety. Because if every single episode was like a depressing, nihilistic, it would just be unwatchable, and it would be predictable and boring and shit. So there was that. And partly, you say, oh, it used to be punk, because I think there's nothing much more punk than, so when we signed with Netflix, I saw some people going, this is typical, it's going to get so American, and I thought, right, fuck you, okay, and the first episode was San Junipero that I wrote, so it's like, fuck you, all right, opens in California, like, there's a sports car, there's a fucking beach, I fucking have that. Weirdly, at that time, doing an episode that was optimistic felt like it would piss people off. Was what I thought. I thought that Black Mirror fans would come to that episode and go, and some of them did, but it was one of our most popular ever episodes. So, but obviously, we know we're aware that we are, there's a big global audience. Apparently, we never go outdoors. So we don't. It's nice to come out and discover that you've seen it here, because we never meet real people. And you're taking it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You can tell he never goes out. He's like. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen Metalhead. I would say that is a punk episode. Black and white, 38 minutes. It ran like an experience rather than a typical, narrative. Very simple and stark and bare. I would say if you were saying, let's make a show that's going to be global, whatever that means, that it's going to travel and everyone around the world are going to make it, that's not the film I would make. Bandersnatch, set in 1982, 84, in a small, unglamorous part of London with a young boy who barely leaves his house and lives with his dad and is, a bit of a loner. Again, not your international blockbuster hit. You can only make the films that you are interested in, that excite you, that feel that you have a relationship to and that you feel are relevant and interesting. So when you start making films for the global audience, then you're fucked, I think.
We rather pretentiously discuss it a bit like an album in a way. So we'll go, oh, this is our uplifting one. And we literally have said, what's our punk hit for this season? And so we sometimes think about the shape of a season in that way.
Yeah. It's always dark. This episode was sunny and bright.
Mm-hmm.
Was really dark, and sometimes it's kind of depressing. Are you feeling that way when you're writing the episodes, or is it something, I don't know?
All the time. Constantly. I mean, just even while laughing, I'm actually weeping. I've always found there's something quite comforting about incredibly bleak things. I don't know why. I cannot explain why. Films like The Wicker Man, I remember watching as a child and really enjoyed how horrible it was and that it left me bereft of hope. So there's something about that I find amusing and entertaining on some level and weirdly comforting, and I cannot articulate why. But I would say that there's probably a lot more kind of dark humour to the show than maybe is always apparent. And we certainly don't often play up the humour in the show, but usually we've got even if they're quite bleak jokes going on, there's usually quite a few of them in almost every episode. Even like one of our darkest episodes is probably Crocodile, which is quite divisive. The ending of that was always very much a joke. To me, it's like, it's a gag. Like it was, so it was very much written with a, like, I was thinking of things like Fargo when I wrote that, because it's sort of, it's a horrible sort of shaggy dog story. I don't know if that's a phrase that translates. It's like a long, horrible joke in a way, with a nasty sort of cruel punchline. So if there's darkness, hopefully there's a lot of dark laughter as well. Here you go.
I don't know if all, I mean, I do take your point, but I don't know if all the episodes are depressing. You know, I think of things like Be Right Back, which was a very early film we did with Hayley Atwell about a wife whose partner has died, and her ability to mourn and grieve him in the digital world where his presence can be felt everywhere. To me, it's a very, very beautiful, tender love story about grief in the modern world. Maybe because it's so contemporary, that makes it unsettling. But the intention is not always to depress.
Initially, you didn't want to work on an interactive film in the first place. With a step back now, how do you look at that experience?
Yes, I think we were right. We shouldn't have done it.
I would say you're right that we initially, when they said to us, do you want to do an interactive movie or an interactive episode, and we looked at the technology, we both smiled and nodded and said, that's interesting, and then left the room and went, no fucking way are we doing that. And while we were making it, we kept saying, we're never going to do this again. This is horrible. It's difficult. It's because it was just mentally exhausting, actually. A lot of it was just difficult to work out. And then we, as is often the case with this sort of thing, near the end, started having some ideas for other ones you could do. And it became a bit like, I've not gone through childbirth, but as I understand it, no one would go through it twice if they could really remember what it was like the first time. So I think it's a bit like that. Is that a fair analogy? That it's basically like a terrible experience, but you love the end result. So therefore you're keen to replicate it?
No.
Oh. You have 3 children.
Yes. And none of them were interactive.
I don't even know what that means.
Actually, the most difficult episode to write, and well, it sounds a bit naive because there's a lot of blocks and things to, but do you actually like this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's very experimental, and it's odd. It's very much unlike any other episode. It was really difficult to do. I had to learn Twine, which is like a programming language, just to write even the story outline. So it was quite difficult, and it was very much like a puzzle, but also we were trying to keep sight of, keeping a coherent story that goes in there, keeping the character coherent, that he doesn't just do what you tell him. He's aware that you're there and he's rebelling against you. It means that he is actually a consistent character. So we knew that that a lot of people may not like it, and you don't know exactly what experience they're going to get, because you don't know in what order they're going to see things. So but I'm sort of very proud of the final result, that it feels like a film, that it all seamlessly works, and that I think enough people got what we were trying to do that I'm happy with that. But I don't think you can compare it to any other episode, because it's a different genre. But it's like comparing a musical to an egg.
Do you think that interactive movies can be the future of the entertainment, or it's too hard and it has to be just an experiment?
I think it's a different form of storytelling, and it can coexist along with films and TV series and everything else. People can bring different preconceptions to it. A video gamer might come and think this is unsatisfying as a game, and a cinema lover may come and resent the interface. So when you're trying to make something like this, it's hard to sort of prejudge, and I like the fact that it embraces lots of different genres, just like a Black Mirror series would, but with all in one film. And our ambition was to try and create a cohesive world in which every ending or perceived ending is a truth for Stefan, the protagonist, and can coexist, and then all to feel like different interpretations of his state of mind. That was a very compelling idea. Yeah, so I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled with it. And we've just been nominated for a BAFTA today for Best Single Drama, which I think sort of shows that hopefully we did achieve what we were trying to do in terms of that emotional engagement.
I would just add to that quickly that in terms of it being the future, I don't think it's the future. I think it's just another genre. I don't see it as actually that separable from video games, which have coexisted with, for years. So I think it's just another tool in the box.